Oggy says, as we're exploring authenticity module, I've been reflecting deeply and I feel quite lost. The topic has stirred up a lot in me and I want to be open and learn, but right now it feels like I'm walking through a maze with no exit in sight. I'm struggling to grasp what authenticity really means in practice. I don't fully understand what it is or what it actually means to stop being inauthentic. During my buddy conversation, even more questions came up like, are we born authentic, or is authenticity something we gain or discover later in life? Can it shift as we grow and experience life? Is being authentic about doing only what we feel like doing? If I play with my son, even when I don't feel like it because I love him and I want to connect, am I being inauthentic? Should we strive to be 100% authentic all the time, or is it more nuanced? I find myself thinking about my 3-year-old son who's in a phase where he throws things, yells, and runs wild. Does that count as authenticity? I also wonder about my dog, whom I adopted as an adult from the street. She was free and wild, and now she's tamer and more obedient. Did she lose her authenticity? It feels like stop being inauthentic is a statement similar to be enlightened. But how do I practically get there? I imagine myself as a white sheet of paper stamped over and over by life experiences, and now I'm unsure how to peel those layers back and find what's truly me. If possible, could you help me understand what authenticity actually looks like in daily life? How can I recognize when I'm being inauthentic? And how do I return to something more true? Since I was very little, I've always had a rebellious nature, especially when someone tried to control me, define me, or place borders around me. This hasn't changed much even now. I can relate to that. At one point in my life, I entered a relationship where I tried to suppress that part of me to accept being controlled and defined, and it made me sick, literally. I left the relationship and realized that I cannot go against myself like that. The lesson was clear. But now I wonder, is this rebellious, untamed part of me my authentic self, or is it a reaction shaped by my life experiences and maybe rooted in something deeper? I'm deeply committed to understanding this. I can tell by the nature of the question. And any guidance you can offer would be so appreciated. I'm ready to do the inner work. I just need some help seeing the path. Love the question. I really see people can feel the frustration there. Yeah. And there's a strong tendency to overthink something which is actually quite simplistic. A better question to ask when it comes up is, what feels true for me right now? Not what feels easiest. What feels easiest is I'm too tired to play with my son. Right? That's an emotion. Authenticity has its basis in values, not emotion. Emotions are transient. Sometimes where if you'd have had a coffee 10 minutes before or had some good news or a good night's sleep, you might have been happy to play with your son. No difference in the movie in terms of the timing. It's your energy at that point. Yeah, but I'm tired. And I have this as a similar situation. I like to get up early and I have my morning routine. And there's quite often, not so much recently, yeah, but I'll get up about 4 a.m. Yeah, usually before 5, yeah, rarely after 6. But if I make a commitment to myself that I'm going to get up tomorrow, let's call it 5 a.m., and I wake up at 4:55, yeah, because I have a light alarm that gradually, yeah, brightens, that doesn't wake Nadia like a beeping monster, right? And I'm very light sensitive when it comes to, I've trained myself to be very, very light sensitive when it comes to waking up. So, and I like, oh, God, I am exhausted. Do I stay in bed or do I get up, which is more authentic? Interesting question. Because there are times that it's authentic to stay in bed, and there are times it's authentic to get up. Same situation, same level of tiredness, same time in the morning. Which is which? How do you tell what tells the difference is what's true for me right now? What is my body actually telling me? Is it just protesting out of the fact that it's, right now very comfortable, and last thing I want to do is go upstairs my meditation room and sit there and focus on heart math for half an hour or blah, blah, blah? Or is it a case of right now, no, my body's really telling me that that's not my truth? Knowing how to interpret the difference there is the journey we're currently on as part of EMF. Because your mind will always justify. We know that. We've learned that. It'll give you the perfect excuse. And if we come back to values, and we'll be getting into values in phase 3, yeah, quite a lot. It's where a lot of the transformation comes from. So we're going to be tweaking our values. I'm not going to be tweaking your values. I've got no right to do that, but you will be tweaking your values and understanding them at a much deeper level and the role that they play in your decision making, in your ability to listen to truth versus emotional comfort versus distraction versus noise as opposed to signal, as we call it. So when it comes to what decision should I make, what feels true for me, not what feels easy, not what feels convenient, not what feels like I need to do it because I made a promise that I probably shouldn't have made, right? That you have to figure out where you're at. And again, we're going to get a lot more clarity around this in phase 3. Now, when it comes down to, it feels like stop being inauthentic as a statement similar to being enlightened, I wouldn't go that far. Otherwise, I am definitely not authentic. Right? Enlightenment's above my pay grade. Yeah, I screw up as much as everybody else, even though I'm just trying to put one foot in front of the other in a better way. Right? But am I perfect? I damn well hope not, because I like my life and I don't want a bus to come along and graduate me out of Earth School. Right? Not yet. And if it happens, it happens. So, there is also something to take into account here in terms of an appreciation of the journey of maturity. Yeah, the soul's maturation is a factor. So if your 3-year-old son is throwing things and yelling, right, there is a level of authenticity around that in terms of that's him. He's not smart enough at this point to kind of be inauthentic unless he's trying to manipulate you for an ice cream. I get that. But when it comes to doing that as a 3-year-old, it's expected. It's not expected as a 33-year-old, because there's a journey of maturation that we go on as part of this journey through Earth School. If you look at the dog, oh, she was free and wild. Well, that's your language that you're putting off. No, she was lost and hungry. Could be another example of language you could put on that. She was craving connection and lonely and didn't have structure. And now she's come, and now she's tamer and more obedient. Again, we're putting our own language on things through the lens of what we think or feel. Is that authenticity? Is that inauthentic? Have I stopped her being her true self? Well, no, she's matured into what sounds like a better expression of a dog. And if she's not happy with that, leave the door open and see if she comes back. Sounds like she will. Because my understanding of dogs, and I kind of got a little experience, is that they would much rather be a loving companion who gets fed than a lonely dog hunting for scraps and avoiding traffic. But she's always got the option to go back should she wish. So yes, it is definitely more nuanced around that. Yeah, but being authentic is simply coming back and asking yourself, are there patterns of insecurity running that prevent me from answering the question, what feels true for me, or rather, prevent me from acting on what would be the real answer, what feels true for me? What feels true for me is I shouldn't lie to my dad about me ending the relationship, going back to question. But right now, I need to be inauthentic because I can't, it feels worse for me letting go of the love that I've been craving for all these years, right, as a result of dad projecting his model of the world. Is it ever going to be easy and clear cut? Of course not. You're in Earth School. Part of the game. But if you just use the center of gravity for the statement, what feels true for me? Having the courage to act on that is part of this journey. Sometimes it's going to be easy, but what I can tell you right now, and this will be evident at the end of phase 3, when your values are clear, your decisions are much easier. Say that once more. When your values are clear, your decisions are much easier. Not always clear cut. It's not meant to be. Again, don't graduate too early if you like your current movie. But it speaks to the fact that a lot of people have never understood, appreciated, or essentially taken time to think about their values as guideposts at the level that we're going to be doing in phase 3. But also values change. The values of your 3-year-old are going to change. But you wouldn't expect them right now to have your values. They've got to go through the tantrum and the terrible twos and all of that kind of stuff. Natural part of growing up. They're going to get measles, chickenpox, or whatever kids get, right, to activate their immune system. It's part of growing up, right? It's, we, as parents, the role, not something I'm speaking from experience, is essentially to help prepare your children to be adults with the most amount of healthy self-esteem they can have. That would be my role as a parent if I was to have children, right? 2-legged children.